Welcome to the first episode of Meet the People. If you're new here, welcome. I do travel cinematics and vlogs, and if you're not new here, welcome back. I still love you. So yeah, anyways, recently I decided that I know the people, or I realized that I know the people in my vlogs and my cinematics a lot better than you do. And they don't really get to have a voice on my channel, at least. Some of them really don't even get to have a voice. So with that being said, from here on out, throughout my travels, every Wednesday, like today, I'm going to I am making an uncut interview, almost like a podcast, almost not. It's more just me listening and them talking, and you get to listen to it just like I do. So yeah, with that being said, let's start the first one with Suzanne, and I'll be back after. This is my first time doing this.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. We're like both on it. Like we're like sitting on the porch just hanging out.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So if there was one aspect, also I have to introduce this. I decided to start something new. I don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to start imperfectly. Oh, that rhymed. That's kind of cool. It's not going to be cut. It's going to be one take, action, bang. Yeah. So, the instant thing that came to my mind is if there was one aspect of your life that you could talk on and on and on about. So everyone's different. What would that be for you?
Oh, I would talk about healthcare in this country, and my experiences with it, and the other people that I've been through the experience with, and see how things have changed as far as how care is delivered and how people are trained to work. It's less of a hierarchy now, where it used to be the doctor was in control and you listened to everything that he said, because there were very few women doctors. And now I think some of the medical schools do more training, like humanistic training, where they'll have students portray patients, so they have to practice back and forth, what it's like to question the patient, what it's like to be the patient, and then, I've had to do it sometimes, and then like you say something really surprising, they're like, well, I wasn't expecting that. I was at this program that's called CPAT. It's cancer patients for advocacy training, with the name of the group is National Coalition for Cancer Survivorship, and they invite young medical students, like they've just done 1 year, to come and do this program to train to advocate for healthcare policy. And we were sitting at these tables, and we had this one guy who was from Puerto Rico, I think, and so they said, well, tell me about your experience. And I started telling him, and he was like, whoa, wait a minute. Are you making this up? I said, no, this is my real story. And he was like, oh, he just put his hands, he was like, I wasn't expecting this. Because they're surrounded by cancer patients, and I don't know what he was expecting we were going to say, but I have kind of like a long sort of sad story. And he was just like, now you're making this up. I said, no, this is really my story. And he was like, oh my God, I have to like refocus. He was expecting, I guess, something really simple, that everything worked out, and I didn't have any problems, and I was telling, well, we had this and this and this, and he was overwhelmed. And Wow. He was a first year medical student. And then the other guy at the table was like, oh man, I hope I don't have her for the interview.
You got me thinking. I completely forgot to introduce you.
Oh, it's okay. It's me.
It's her. Suzanne, right?
I'm
Not
Suzanne,
Susan? Okay.
yeah.
Suzanne, do you want to tell a little bit of your story to them?
Oh, sure.
Feel comfortable.
Yeah, I was diagnosed at 36 when I just moved to New York City to pursue my music career, singing. And it wasn't totally surprising, because my mother had breast cancer at a young age, and she had died 6 years earlier. And they weren't really looking so much at a genetic connection yet then. And when I was diagnosed, I had the top breast surgeon at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York, and he told me, we don't often see this kind of cancer. It's sort of rare. We don't have a treatment for it, and they didn't even have a name for it yet. And I'm like 36 years old. Okay, I have cancer. You don't know what it is. You have no treatment, and
What was going through your mind then?
go on with your life. So I was like, oh, this isn't really the best news. So I did go to this program in New York. It's called SHARE, Self-Help for Women with Breast and Ovarian Cancer. And I went to this alternative natural therapies group because
Ooh, I'm big on
you know,
alternative.
what else was I gonna do? They didn't have a name for it, and I remember sitting through this group, gripping the chair like with my eyes really big because one lady sort of took over the group, and she was just saying, "This doesn't work," blah blah blah, and I'm going,
You
"Don't
gotta
even tell
believe
me
in it."
this because I have nothing else to grasp onto right now."
Whoa.
And so this one woman, when we were done, I was still sort of gripping the chair, and she came over to me, and we were leaving, and she said, this is the first group you've been to, isn't it? And I go, yeah. And she goes, you were expecting something different. Yeah.
So was it negative or just
Oh yeah,
that
the
one?
lady was just really negative. No matter what anyone would say, she would like speak over them, and I was like, don't even do this because I have to find something to do for myself. So
What?
it was a negative meeting because that one lady just kept naysaying everything people said. And the one lady came up and she said, "Do you drink tea?" And I said, "Yes." She goes, "Let's go for tea." And she talked to me about her breast cancer experience and how she was starting this online website. Now this was 1999, so very new.
.com era.
There was like, yeah, you had like email, but like AOL, you've got mail.
I remember that.
It wasn't like anything advanced where there were any like support groups online or that you could talk to anyone online.
Hello. Do you want to come say hi?
Say hi, Yolanda.
Come say hi.
You're on our thing. This is Yolanda. She's
No,
our,
it's right here.
our
It's right here.
fabulous housekeeper.
What? You see?
Come in and say hello.
No, come in, come in.
Oh no!
Really?
You want me to stand in front of them?
Come right here and come say hi.
Say hello. Yolanda's shy. She's gonna come. She's a wonderful housekeeper here where we're staying.
Hi.
This is Yolanda. She's wonderful.
This is our housekeeper here in Cleveland, and she is the definition of hard work and just being a great person. Really.
Yes.
Oh, you got me on camera.
What was your therapy?
The first time I went through, I did get assigned to an oncologist because someone needed to follow me, but they didn't have any chemotherapy. They had no treatment. So he said, well, we will just do some radiation for the area because that will help. It's kind of an insurance that it won't come back. But he was a really wonderful doctor. I've become friends with him. We go to conferences together and stuff. But I was really underwhelmed with, I have this cancer, and still it was a little, fuzzy back then, and in 1999, and there were no support groups for young people, and I went to this one group that my doctor sent me to, and I went to the address, New York, you gotta get buzzed in and everything, and there's all these old, like, gray-headed ladies volunteering, and they're like, can we help you?
I can just imagine.
And I
that.
said, my
That's a good movie
surgeon just
scene.
called. He sent me down here, and they're like, you're the new patient? Like I was some anomaly. And so I thought, oh, this isn't a very good first impression. And then I did go to the support group, but I was way the youngest person, and some of them were saying, oh, I didn't even tell my mother or my family about it because I want to keep it private. And I'm sitting there thinking, I wish I could tell my mom. She just died of this 6 years ago. So it was really not uplifting, but there was one lady in there that very much reminded me of my mother. So we both lived on the west side, and it was on Fifth Avenue. So we would walk to the bus and we would travel across town together. And she invited me to her place a couple times. Just, I was just going to treatment. I wasn't doing anything. Just that was my job, go to treatment every day. I was like, this sucks.
What kept you going? Like, what was your anchor? Was it
Well,
that lady, or was it?
I just knew that that I was going to do something about it, that I couldn't be the only person that was going through this. And so I kept calling and calling, and finally the sheriff called me and they said, we've had one group of young women that came through, and we were waiting till we had enough people to do a second support group. And I said, oh, okay, great. And I said, I'm just curious, I'm 36, what is the age range of the people signed up? And she said, you are the oldest.
Really?
At 36. So that was kind of shocking too. But one of the girls that I met in this support group, we'd become very good friends, and we still talk to each other. But it was just very weird at that time to be a young person with any kind of cancer, because they just thought we were a one-off. And I joined any group or any group of people that were trying to change that, to say, we are important. You need to be looking at us. You need to study us. And and I didn't meet anybody that had the same kind of cancer that I had. So it was like, well, I'm not going to be the one that dies of this. I'm gonna make it work. So here I am, 22 years later, and 3 cancer diagnoses later. Again, in my third and my recurrence, I had 3 different kinds of cancer. The original kind, which now has a name, triple negative breast cancer, which is a subtype of breast cancer. Only about 25 to 30% of people are diagnosed with that. Then I also did the genetic testing at the time for the new genes. They had discovered BRCA1, BRCA2, and I tested positive for BRCA1, which means I inherited the gene, and it's a mutation in every cell in my body.
Have a good one.
Hey,
Bye.
yeah, New York, Brooklyn, go.
Bye.
Say hello to all my friends. Just wave. And
Wait,
say,
can
Suzanne,
I
say
come here for a
hello.
sec?
You guys have to be on camera. Come on.
What's your name? Tell it.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Destiny.
Isn't that the coolest name ever? Do you want
Why?
to come be in?
Sure.
This is my
Yeah,
first
be in
interview
it.
video on my
This
channel.
Interview video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh.
it is.
Where am I? Andy.
I'll ask you
Hello.
guys a quick question before.
These are our roommate friends from Brooklyn. They're heading back that way
Do
today.
that.
You're interviewing us?
You guys are really all just no.
Oh,
being
no.
interviewed.
Oh, you're being
You're
interviewed.
just,
Oh,
you're just
I'm just the background.
yeah, you
All right.
guys
I'm
are
just
like,
the
hey,
bystander.
hello. These are the cool people we met.
All right,
Alright,
enjoy. Have
safe
a good
drive,
one.
guys.
Thank you.
No
Enjoy your
rain.
Philly
Hoping for
cheesesteak,
no
homie.
rain.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna
Looking forward to it. I hope everything goes well.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I just started working with different groups. There was a young group of women in New York that had it, and they were in their 20s, and they're like, this is ridiculous. People need to listen to us. So they started a group called Young Survival Coalition. And when we first formed, we were like, oh, we don't want to be in existence in like 10 or 20 years. They're going to pay attention to us. They're going to figure this out. We're all going to be okay. Well, last year we were supposed to have our big 20th year celebration, which at the last minute was not canceled, it was rescheduled, which actually ended up happening virtual this year. 20 years, and the founders, the 3 women that founded it, they're still alive, but we've had several women that were president or officers that have passed, that metastasized. And when we first were having, we were thinking, oh, it's a one and done, we're young, we have breast cancer, but we're good. Well, then people started recurring and getting advanced cancer and metastatic cancer, and we just didn't know what to think, because we had never heard of it, and doctors weren't used to working with such young women. Most of the treatments were based for people that were postmenopausal, so 55, 60 and over, and you've got these 25-year-olds and 30-year-olds, and the doctors were sort of like, what do we do with these young women? So it was really interesting, and then from there I started working with Live Strong, and I met other people, Heidi Adams that had a thing, and there's another one, Matthew has one, I'm Too Young for This. And then there was the Doug Allman Foundation, he had one. And so eventually what happened is that Live Strong became an umbrella organization. And so they brought in a lot of people that had started, they couldn't find anything, so they started it. And after a while, you have to come to a point where you decide, you know what, I'm going to hop on board with this other person because they're further along their journey. They're developing funding and stuff. And so you just join, don't recreate the wheel, just take what you're doing and add that component to what they're already doing. So
It's a good life lesson.
I was involved with a lot of different organizations, and now that I've been in it for so long, 22 years, I'm more of a person that works like on policy advocacy, like meeting with my representatives in Congress and talking to them about, what it's like to be a cancer patient and what it's like to be a young cancer patient and what it's like to be ignored. Or I really feel strongly right now, because of the pandemic, many hospitals are actually turning away cancer patients because it's not safe for them to be treated at the hospital because of the precautions. So I actually know cancer patients who have been diagnosed and they're not doing the surgeries because they don't have the staff to do it. They're not starting the treatment. It's not safe for them to be in the hospital. Or I also have friends who have been transferred to another facility where they travel further to go get their treatment during the pandemic because they can set up a safe environment there. So I am very grateful that I am not receiving treatment at this time for cancer, because can you imagine being diagnosed and then being told, well, we need to do a surgery, but we don't have a safe location to do it, so you're going to have to wait. Or, well, we could start treatment, but we don't have a safe place to do it. We don't have the nursing staff to do it. We don't, when they say that they're running out of staff and they're low on staff, it doesn't just affect the people who are coming in with COVID that are being admitted. It's affecting everyone with other treatments. I was fortunate that I was able to get the neurosurgery for my neck 2 months ago because there was that particular hospital was doing okay and they could still do my surgery. But I know I've spoken to friends on Facebook and an email that while I was supposed to have my surgery, but they canceled it. So can you imagine being diagnosed with cancer and then being told you have to wait?
No, I never even knew that.
So it's a big problem. And there's also like people that just want to go in like for hip replacements or whatever, and they're being told we have to cancel it. I got a call 2 weeks ago. I moved my dentist to my new location. And when I called, there was one that had an opening in January and one that had one in September. So I took the September one, and then I had to call because I had that big brace on and I couldn't move my neck. I said I don't think I'll be able to come because they do x-rays, you got to be able to move. So I scheduled it for the end of October, and last week I got a phone call that said, just letting you know that we're canceling your appointment because we don't have enough staff. So I can give you a number for this other place, and the other ones in January, they did call me and say, we have an opening today, so like I'm on the cancel list. That's for the dentist. But can you imagine being on a cancel list for cancer?
Yeah.
Like, you can't get cancer. And imagine being a young person, you're in prime of your life, you're not expecting this to come up. It affects you, your family, if you're married, you have young children. And it's hard enough going through treatment when you have that, but being denied the treatment because we don't have the facility, we don't have a safe place for you to go. Those are the people that I really feel for right now, that you get this devastating diagnosis and then there's no time or place to do it. Well, you're just going to have to wait. Cancer doesn't wait. It doesn't discriminate. And it could be anybody. It could be a friend of yours. And, you get this news and you're like, oh, I'm going to support you through it. And it's like, no, they can't do anything for a couple of months. There's a mosquito right there. So, I'm really big on healthcare and that people should be able to get the care that they need. I used to be a therapist and I worked with, the underprivileged people, I'd say, and now I find myself, after all of mine, I've been designated as disabled and I'm on Medicare and I'm on Medicaid, and I make all kinds of phone calls to find programs. I just found out a new place to call if I need long distance ones because I'm on straight Medicaid, but I lost the ability to go to my follow-up appointment with my neurosurgeon because unbeknownst to me, when they processed it, it was denied, but no one contacted me in the 5 weeks from when I put in the request and when the day came. So I couldn't go that day. I had to call the office and say, I'm sorry, I have no way to get there today because I didn't know it was denied. And so they put me on for the next week. And fortunately, a friend of mine was traveling through, and she stayed with me, and she I asked her, and she offered to take me to go to my appointment last week. So it's really a learning curve, and I really feel for people who are not well educated, or just anybody who doesn't know anything about cancer. When you're diagnosed, it doesn't mean that, oh, someone in your family is an oncologist and they know everything that's in the reports, and they understand what's going on, and they understand the treatments, and they understand if you should be looking for a clinical trial. Everybody's starting at like base
Ground
one.
zero, yeah.
And you know, so it's a process, and so that's why I work as a patient advocate. It's volunteer, but
So you've taken your
I
experience
help
and-
out people and say, look, I learned this, or like, I just got this new number. I call my state representatives and talk to their health aide and say, look, here's, if you have anyone that's calling that's having problems, if they're on straight Medicaid, here's the transportation, here's the long distance transportation, here's where they call if they need this, because I learned it because I'm persistent and I don't take no for an answer. And, you know, I've learned all this since July, because when I first moved up there, it was in the pandemic, and I had no ability to, you know, to get any new doctors. They weren't even hardly seeing their own patients. So through July, 4 weeks before my surgery, I got all these new doctors, went to appointments, got the thing about how to get there, and then I haven't been able to drive. It's my first trip in a long time, and because my doctor released me, but I still have my new lymphedema thing, but I got in right away and got it taken care of, but now it's another thing I have to deal with. And I have to be careful with my neck because I have 2 fusions on it, so you know, I can't do everything that I want to do, but I did find help. I have a lady that comes to my house 3 days a week and does like cleaning, cooking. She even does outside work for me because it's stuff that I cannot do. So people have become sort of insulated in their own little world, and they so often forget about the people in their neighborhood, or friends, or family members, or somebody that is really struggling, and they've become so insulated in their own problems that they don't look around them
Ooh, that's a
to
good thing.
see
Can always
what, you know,
help your
you
own problems
even when
by
you're
helping
having it,
others.
there's always somebody, I say within a 5-mile radius, and right now it might even be a 1-mile radius of your own neighborhood, there's always somebody that's having financial toxicity from medical bills or losing their job. There's always people that need food, that are going hungry or doing without so their kids get food, and it really doesn't take a lot of looking around to find someone
It
that's
really
in
doesn't.
need. So just a simple thing, like some people have a table out in their yard that they just put food on, that you can just go, or they have those little blessing boxes or stuff that they have in my neighborhood. You can go and there's different foods in there. Sometimes they have fresh vegetables. You can just pull up and take what you need. You know, and I think everybody's good, take what you need but leave, you know. So a lot of people are getting food that way, or services, and you know, and for a while all the people were working from home. So when I was trying to get a hold of my caseworker, he called me back, and I go, well, I emailed you, I called, and I just didn't know how to get a hold of you. And he goes, oh, just today they figured out how that we could access our mailboxes. So all these people are calling in asking for help. Like, I called this 844 number, and it goes wherever, and it took 3 weeks for the lady to call me back, but people were working from home. Now when I called that to find about the transportation specialist, someone did call me the next day with the information, but I just went ahead and called my caseworker, and I said, well, she's got to know. She goes, oh yeah, I know someone to email. Just a minute, while we're talking, I'll email her. And then she goes, oh, she emailed me back, here's the information. But if you don't know to ask for that, and even the other one for the local ones, they have this follow-up service from the hospital now, which they should be doing, following up on people. I live alone, and they call or check in with me, and they say, how is it going? Are you having any food scarcity? Are you eating well? Are you getting balanced meals? Do you have any help? Is there anything we can do for you? Do you need access to transportation? Are you having any medical problems that you should go to see your doctor, and you just don't feel that you can't get to the doctor or you can't make an appointment. So all these questions that people are afraid to bring up when you're talking with someone, like, oh, I don't want to tell them that I'm really not eating good, and I'm not eating good because I can't get to the grocery store, or I'm not eating well because I can't afford it, or whatever. So if people in these positions start asking the questions instead of waiting for the person to bring it up, they're getting a lot more information, and
'Cause for
so
them, it
they
can be
so they
uncomfortable to bring
they
up.
yeah, it could be uncomfortable. You don't want to let them know that, when you go to the doctor, you want to be like on your best behavior and stuff, like everything's great, because he might say you have to do something. But I think one of the good things with telemedicine is when they see people in their home, like they can say, why don't you get up and go over there to get something, and you can see how difficult is it for them to stand up,
You can
how
see
difficult
everything.
is for them to walk. Can they go? Can you see them? How long does it take them to get a glass of water for themselves? And when you don't see that kind of stuff, or what kind of condition is their home? Does it look neat and clean, or is there a lot of stuff around? Do they maybe need someone to get into their home to help them stay alone? There's a lot of that going on, because no one wants to leave their home. They want to stay in their home. Whether they are capable of it or not is another story. Unless you get someone that comes in and says, oh, this is not good, this person isn't eating well, I was here 3 days ago and it was a disaster, and I've gone for the weekend and it looks the same. So that says they're not capable or interested in caring for themselves or their home. And so there's just a lot of things that I think the pandemic has brought up, and a lot of it is just, food scarcity, people that are living alone that need some support to stay in their home. They don't want to bring it up. They might not have family who's interested in them or
Kind of
whatever.
going down a rabbit hole.
So I think it's brought a lot of things to light. So that's my big thing. If I was doing a PSA, I always said I wanted to do, there's a piece of equipment that everyone has on their car, and so many people don't use it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Directional signal. If you're thinking about moving, even thinking about it, put it on so people know where you're going. But now if I did a PSA, it would probably be like, when you wake up in the morning, look around you. Look as you walk to your car. Look as you walk into your office. Look as you walk into the grocery store. Do you see someone that's struggling? Because that's where you see those people. They're not in a special place. They're all around you. You just need to look
Open your eyes.
and act. It's easy enough to, see someone that's struggling in the grocery store and say, I'll pay for that. Or you see the person behind you and you just stand to the side until the clerk is done and you pay for it. That person might be really grateful. It might have been all the money that they had to come in and get eggs and bread, or sometimes they will do without. They'll do it and they go, oh, I don't really have enough money for that. You can't afford $1 to pay for that person so they can have eggs. There's very few people that are in that position.
It's true.
So just doing something like that, or going over to check on them and saying, why don't I bring over a meal, and while they're eating it, clean up their kitchen a little bit, check and see what they have, and ask them if they, what's your favorite foods? You can always buy a few groceries and go leave it on their porch. So easy. Or do you have any appointments? I'd be glad to get you there, or I can pay for an Uber to get you to your appointment.
Wow. That's how we're going to finish the video. Because it ends right now. First of all, thank you.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
Second of all, I hope you enjoyed our first interview. And the last challenge I have for you is what she just said. If you see someone struggling with something, take that 5 seconds, 30 seconds out of your day to just help them.
Yeah, if you can see something immediately, give them a ride.
So I hope you enjoyed the interview. I definitely did. It was quite the time. It was quite the learning experience, as you saw. I hope you learned something, or some things as well. And with that, you know the vibe by now. I shouldn't even have to say it, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Stay energized. It never gets old. Peace. I can't I really cannot say how happy I am to give someone a voice on my platform.